What's up, everyone? I'm Shafi Malik, and you're listening to the Who Dropped the Popcorn podcast. The premise is simple. One of us picks a film that we know the others haven't seen, and we all come together here to discuss it. Joining us tonight is Dave McHugh.
Few stubbies short of a six-pack, mate.
Andy Newlands.
Get out my pub, you slag.
And all the way from the somewhat north of England, Kyle Hammond.
Regulators, mount up.
Yes.
Old school.
Here's a warning. We'll be going into heavy spoilers for this film, so we suggest you watch the film before listening to this. This episode's choice is Andy's. Andy has chosen All This Mayhem, a 2014 documentary.
Sorry, you were quite slow at reading those three words, mate. Are you okay?
I'm still doing
this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what
mayhem.
I was giving it dramatic effect. All This Mayhem.
Wow, the
What's
drama.
up, everybody?
To be honest, it'll be the most exciting this discussion will ever be, to be honest. So,
You don't start a podcast like that.
A 2014 documentary directed by Eddie Martin. It focuses on Taz and Ben Pappas, two pro skateboarding brothers from Melbourne, Australia, and their quest to
You're glue.
I'm tired.
You watched this movie and immediately got into heroin.
Hey, Taz and Ben. That's too difficult now.
Shafi's been skateboarding and doing crack all day.
How to lose weight. Let's get some heroin. There we go. Oh, he looks really thin now. Ooh.
Yeah. Two pro skateboarding brothers from Melbourne, Australia, and their quest to conquer the US. Andy, why did you choose this film?
Okay, so there's a guy that I work with called Joe Boquet, and I talked to him about the
Big up
the
Joe,
podcast
blah.
Yeah, big up JB, and he'll be listening to this. So big up JB, and apologies for what I presume the rest of the guys are going to say about this choice.
It's the first listener's request we've had.
Yeah,
And the last, thank you.
Yeah.
Wowzer. So yeah, Joe really liked this, and I've been talking to him about the podcast a bit, and trying to promote it. So I thought, you know what, this decent geezer has taken an interest in us, and he said he'd seen this film documentary. So I know that we sometimes are allowed to go into the documentary film genre.
Not anymore.
Not wow. Okay, so not anymore. So this is the last one. But we did one a while back for the what was it called? That TT one I did.
Closer to the edge.
Yeah, Closer to the Edge, and that seems to generate quite a good discussion and stuff. So me and the guys, we, as you know, Shaf, we all went out for a meal when Kyle was over, and I asked for your permission to do another one. You guys generously accepted.
Why was Joe going bananas about this documentary? What was he saying about it?
He found it really interesting. Like he just like a bit like me. I don't want to say too much now. I'll talk about this later, but perhaps didn't really know the story. And I think he just found the lifestyle of this group of people interesting. The sort of Tony Hawk saga is quite interesting. It's just quite mad. I think just when you step back and you actually think about these people live that sort of life, it is mental. Like it's absolutely mental what they went through. And he, I think he enjoys a little bit of the mental side of life, so to speak. So yeah, good for him. Why not?
So Andy, give it a recap for this film.
Hey, what's that you say? It's Andy's articulate analysis.
Cool. So essentially, this film is it covers the story, I guess, of the rise of skateboarding and skateboarders as skateboarding went from a sort of underground scene to a global sensation. And it focuses particularly on two brothers, two Australian brothers, who came from, I guess, quite a rough sort of childhood. Not crazy rough, but a lot rougher than any of us four have had to deal with. And it kind of documents how they got into skateboarding, and essentially became for a while the some of the best skateboarders in the world. And you kind of go on this journey with them through what that sort of lifestyle brought into their life. And essentially it's lots of money, lots of partying, lots of drug abuse. And then inevitably with stories of, you know, youth and drugs, some crazy shit starts to happen. And the film explores how, unfortunately, one of the brothers, you know, just starts making really stupid decisions and smuggles some drugs across borders and gets sent to jail, and because of that isn't allowed back into America to compete in all the skateboarding events. And obviously America was where most of the big ones were happening, and eventually he becomes the murder suspect in the killing of the girl he was seeing at the time, and then he ends up committing suicide himself. His brother, who's in America, the other great skateboarder, is obviously left devastated by this, and he again gets more and more into drugs and becomes more disenfranchised with life. And then eventually, as the film sort of goes on, he kind of starts to rebuild himself and his life after the passing of his dad. And at the end of the film, he's actually sort of skateboarding again and started a family. And then there's all these sort of side stories about how Tony Hawk's in this, and how it was almost weird. It was like they portrayed Tony Hawk as like the Brady Bunch corporate America type skateboarder, which was an interesting view. I'd never sort of realized that before. And the rivalry between them, and how there was such a race to perform what they call the first 900, which is a sort of skateboarding trick where the board will revolve a certain amount of times. And
900 times, yeah? That's what it
No, not
does.
900 times, like the 9 degrees or something like that.
I'd say two and a half. 2.5 on
yeah, I don't really fucking understand what the fuck they were doing. But anyway, it was a crazy
Wait,
trick.
is 900 degrees the temperature that the board gets because the wheels are spinning that fast?
My God. Kyle, are you writing this material? Have you written this material?
No, I'm not.
Have you got somebody in your ear? Right, this is you say this now.
All I can picture is that Joker meme. the Joker behind the mic. Yeah. So go on.
Yeah, sorry, my train of thought's gone. But yeah, I think it's basically like it kind of, you know, if you went out to the street and asked, like, I don't know, a 15-year-old or a 60-year-old to name a skateboarder, they'd probably be able to name Tony Hawk, but wouldn't be able to name these two brothers. And it kind of shows maybe a little bit of a skateboard mafia. It tries to paint the picture that these guys, because they weren't American, I think were kind of excluded from certain competitions. I'm not quite sure. I got a bit lost with that. So
I kind of disagree with that, but anyway, we'll get to that. But
no worries. Maybe we'll just edit this out. You know, I'm not really bothered to go on anymore, because all I'm trying to do is give a fucking review without being taken a piss out of. Never mind. And then yeah, that's it really. So fucking there we go. Talk about the film. Off you go, guys. All the best.
All right, chill out.
Fucking hell. What's the point, mate? What is the fucking point?
This was us to disagree with the point.
Nah, it's fine. It's fine. Just trying to be a bit positive and upbeat, but let's just be down on everything.
So
let's just ban documentaries, slag it off before we get a chance.
No, but
Tell
I'm
Joe
saying,
to fuck off.
but the point you made is that
no, you're right. You're right. I'm not really sure.
You said no. You're saying that these brothers would have be made more of a household name than just as much as Tony Hawk, where.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not at all. The film made me think at times that the brothers thought that was the brothers' view, that they kind of felt he was a bit of a Brady Bunch character, and that I think they felt like there was some conspiracy against them. I'm not sure there was, but
yeah. But I mean, what I'm saying is that Tony Hawk is Tony Hawk because he built a brand, you know. So the fact is that skateboarding isn't like that's a niche sport. So I doubt people know Tony Hawk because they know of the things, like, you know,
the games
of the things outside of actually watching the sport. So so that's the thing where I don't think these brothers were even interested in like brand awareness and stuff like that, you know.
you got to remember that everything I've said here, at the beginning of the film, it opens and it says there's three sides to every story. There's mine, there's yours, and the truth. And I think that underpins everything that we saw in this movie, where actually you're not really sure what the fuck went on and who to believe, because you're only really hearing one side.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wouldn't have liked it if it had been like King of Kong and it just been them against Tony Hawk, because it wasn't too big a part of the film. It's kind of interesting because Tony Hawk kind of comes across as a bit of a douchebag, a bit of a fanny, but I don't think that really matters. Tony Hawk is incredibly famous, but then most people would know who Tony Hawk is. But the thought of trying to name another famous skateboarder, it's like not in a million years. So I think, like the way a lot of them mentioned the way the sport went, it was like such a cool underground thing, and then corporate America gets its claws into it and rips its soul out. So, but then they don't have to be quite so mental, these two either. You don't, because if you're the bad boys of skateboarding, that makes you a pretty fucking wild person. But yeah, rock and roll. It was the whole thing. It's like it's an awesome arc and story, and I'm like, whoa, I was fuck me, murder. Like it actually went that far. Like Jesus, that is some dark shit. How it went, because it started off when I first watching it, I was like, this scene is a bit like, it reminded me a bit of Chopper, and they were quite humorous in the way they were talking and stuff. And then I was like, that sort of next 20 minutes I thought was a bit shit as documentary filmmaking goes. It was okay. They had to set the tone and show them when they were younger and stuff, and it was just a bit like lighthearted. And then it's just like boom, boom, and it's just like, whoa, that is some arc, and that's why this documentary is fucking awesome. Frankly.
I'm glad you said that, because like one of the points I was going to make is I'm not sure I'd recommend this to like anyone to watch, but
interesting.
I wouldn't mind telling them the story. I think it's quite cool to know that this went on, but whether you need to watch this documentary to get to that, I'm a bit umming and ahhing about.
I think it's like what Dave said with Ford versus Ferrari, that the story is better than the film. I think this is the same.
This is actually quite a good film though as well. Like
this is the worst episode. Everyone's attacking me. No one's being nice. Kyle's going 900 times, you fucking bald cunt. And Shafi's like, no, I disagree with everything. Now Dave's slagging off Matt Damon within 8 minutes. Sorry, Shafi.
Did you give that feedback to Joe? The fact that it's actually what you just said.
So, fuck. You might have to edit this bit out. In fact, you will have to edit this bit out. So I'm going to tell you the truth. And then Shaf, you ask me that again, and I'll give you a...
Joe's a heroin and cocaine addict.
Right, no.
Yeah, there is no Joe. You first met him on an airplane.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's so funny.
And he told you to blow up the building.
That's so funny that we need to keep that in the podcast. So what I'll do is I will not air the reason. I'll give you the reason now, but we can't air it.
Okay, right, what's the reason?
And then we'll just move on with the podcast. So for your ears only, Joe's been on holiday and he just got back and he split up with his girlfriend. So I didn't want to give him the bad news that I didn't really enjoy watching this documentary. So I haven't told Joe.
No, it would have been really funny if you went. If you said, I saw All This Mayhem, and he goes, All This Mayhem? What? I was just talking about All the President's Men. What are you on about? So we just saw this random fucking Vice magazine documentary. Okay, right.
Do you know what? So, this has been the best bit of the podcast. We're on a high again. I'll message Joe, tell him what's happened, ask for his permission to air this, and if he says yes, we'll keep it all in.
I'll message Joe. Yeah, that's right.
All right, we're on a
this
high.
It's like the end of Psycho, and you find it's actually a skeleton with a wig on. So I mean, you guys have already chipped in. So I was going to say, Kyle, what did you think of this film? But I guess Kyle, have you got? Yeah, what is your overall opinion on film.
Yeah, so I did enjoy it. I agree with Dave. The first 20 minutes was a bit like, oh man, fucking this is quite slow. But that's then when they're young. But then when the rock and roll stuff happens, it's, you know, admittedly, it's like a generic rock and roll story. You know, it's kind of guys from the wrong side of the tracks and they get into drugs. It just gets worse and worse and worse at the top of their game, and they're back down. And, you know, is Ben Pappas Sid Vicious fucking murdered his girlfriend? And then, you know, we've heard it before, haven't we? But yeah, it's obviously a rock and roll story, but with skateboarding. I thought the documentary was good, but I thought the story was way better. This is the problem. I think if this was like a shiny Netflix documentary that came out today, everyone would be talking about it. It'd be number one on the list.
What a great comment.
Yeah.
What a great comment. There you go. Right, it's time for your slagging off now, Carl.
No, okay. All right. So sorry, go on. So did anyone know about any of these people before or not?
No, not a thing.
I whilst looking on IMDb, found out that Ben had died, which was a kind of a bit of a spoiler, which is weird.
Why did you look at IMDb?
Mate, Shafi always tells us don't look.
No, because I went on IMDb to sort of just get the characters, because they all sounded the same. So when someone was narrating it, I couldn't tell who was talking at first. And then, so I just went on.
Well, that's interesting, because I did actually when I was watching it, I thought, are they like because the thing is that with Ben, with Yaz,
Taz.
Sorry, Taz. Sorry,
who's Yaz?
It's a Tasmanian devil
tune. That's a fucking tune, mate. That's a fucking tune. So yeah, when it cut to Yaz doing the interviews, there's different interviews.
One way
again.
Sorry, Taz. Sorry.
When Tasmanian devil.
Yeah, that's always remember it. Yeah, because he's got 3 different looks, hasn't he?
It's 3 different looks, and I thought it was the other brother when the other guy was talking. So I was like, okay, which is the brother? But then, whenever it cut to the younger brother, I was like, no, he looks different, doesn't he? So I was trying to figure out who was who, just like you did.
That's why I went on IMDb.
Yeah, I twigged early on that Ben was dead because he wasn't there.
Yeah,
I thought he's either dead or he's in prison.
Well, no, straight. Well, that's the thing. When I heard about the whole drugs thing, I was like, he's probably dead. Like that's why he's not.
I was going to make the assumption anyway, but it would have been some spoiler to know the fucking darker side of his life. My God, like that was just crazy. Like fucking hell. Yeah, wow, it really is just full on rock and roll with carnage, isn't it? And then what's his name? Bears from the Happy Mondays or whatever his name is. He's like, it's really similar to Ozzy Osbourne.
Yes.
Sharon, wasn't it? I was just like, fuck. Where he's sort of in some drug-fueled rage, hits his wife and stuff, and ends up in jail. Really similar to that, where it was sort of quite a nice-natured wife that just ends up with a nutcase. It's just mad.
And then he's like in some like Guantanamo Bay bit, isn't he? Fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's mad.
Yeah. That's just before he gets deported. Yeah,
man. Yeah.
Because I thought if you had a wife and kids in America, it would be quite hard to deport you, but I guess not. Or depends on the situation, I guess. But yeah, fuck, what crazy, just fucking crazy. And then he goes to Argentina and like just to try to sort of live the same life as sort of a weird.
Yeah, that's mental. Argentina,
some weird purgatory, some weird penance and stuff. It's just fucking crazy. But yeah, and then it sort of does
similar to your trip to London last week.
I've got a kilo of coke up my ass, so yeah.
Your twin brother.
Yaz McHugh.
I'm sure they're from Croydon, them lot. Yeah.
Wow.
So I thought it was mad how they were doing they were filming that video and they were saying this is the best they've ever skated and they're all just fucked on acid.
Yeah.
That's fucking mental.
Yeah, that is mad.
Yeah, performance enhancing drugs. But yeah.
You see their eyes.
Make me wonder.
Their eyes are fucking off the like.
Yeah. So the funny thing is that was sort of like Saturday morning like kids show.
No.
And then like they kind of cut their interview and they're both like fucked off their heads. Like,
Mm.
Did you spot Steve-O?
Yes.
I
Steve-O drank bong water.
Yeah, he did the bong and
That
then
is
drank the fucking water.
Oh my God.
Is that a thing? I've never heard of that before. That's disgusting.
I've seen somebody do it once, caveat, on television, and they were sick immediately. So he didn't spew is unbelievable. Like, just go and smoke 5 cigarettes now, put them in a glass of water, leave it overnight, and then drink it in the morning and see how you get on. That's essentially what he did. It's unbelievable.
It's mad to think that's sort of, imagine someone sort of saying at that party, by the way, that guy is going to be incredibly rich and incredibly famous for doing that sort of shit. He's like, what?
Yeah.
He is going to be a multi-millionaire. Like, what?
I know. Who dropped the popcorn does not advocate the behaviour of Steve-O, don't do drugs.
They were probably hanging out with a lot of those Jackass boys, I'm guessing.
Yeah, Ryan Dunn.
Yeah, they're probably, Ryan Dunn, rest in peace.
Johnny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Bam Margera's gone a bit down that route, hasn't he? He's like, he wasn't in the last Jackass film because he's fucking mad on like the beer. He's mad on the beer, isn't he?
It's fucking mad. He's basically turned into his. So I don't think his dad's a nutcase, but he looked just like his old man, who's a big geezer.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. So regarding, there's a documentary that someone's already mentioned on this podcast, and I know that everyone's a big fan of, and that's King
Kong, the best mate.
Oh my God, yeah.
So Dave, do you want to for the viewers that haven't seen it, do you want to describe what it is and why it's so good?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, King of Kong is similar in the sense that Billy Mitchell, I guess, is the Tony Hawk character, where he's kind of in there with the people that run it and judge it and stuff. And then the exceptionally nice Steve Wiebe kind of gets the Donkey Kong record in his hometown, in his garage. And then it's kind of, they don't accept it because it wasn't a live score, even though they would have under most situations, because it broke Billy Mitchell's record. It wasn't really allowed. People even went round to have a look at his machine and thought it had been tampered with by Mr. Awesome and things like that. So he went to Fun Spot to try to do it live. He couldn't quite do it, but he got an amazing score. And then Billy Mitchell just submits a videotape, and then they take that. But then, there's a bit more to it, and I won't ruin it all for the people. But yeah, it's really, really worth watching. Actually, that's kind of spoiler.
It's fucking amazing, is all you need to know.
Yeah,
Dave told me about this, and I had no interest in Donkey Kong or arcade games or whatever, but it's insane. And the character of Billy Mitchell is just,
it's so
there's
funny,
this film
called
what's that film, the fucking with Pac-Man in it, Pixels, right?
Pixels, yeah.
The guy from Game of Thrones is in it, right? And he's I don't care what anyone says, because I believe this, he plays this guy who cheats a bit at arcade games, and they make him look exactly like Billy Mitchell, and there's no way that that's a coincidence. I don't care what anyone says. Watch Pixels and tell me I'm wrong.
I'm just surprised you got through Pixels. Anyway.
Well, don't slag off Pixels now.
Fucking hell. Jesus Christ.
Well, let's just talk about Jalika 2 then. Fuck it. Let's just talk about Jalika 2 all night. Fucking hell.
Sorry, Dave, what were you saying?
I do feel a bit sorry for Bill Mitchell, because he is the best. He is the best gamer ever.
Yeah.
And what he did was he played a few games and got these records, and then people went, I'm going to try to beat your Donkey Kong score. I'm going to try and beat your score in that game. He got the perfect game in Pac-Man and stuff like that. And I think he's obviously a strange character and a bit,
he's a douchebag,
but he deserves credit for what he did. Bill is the best gamer of all time. It's just, he does deserve the credit there. And
apparently he does a lot of charity work as well. And he's like
a millionaire.
He did like come across as someone who was a little bit weird and and he was referring to his tie and stuff like that. And
it's just great. He's an interesting character. The world is
Kyle, have you seen this film that we've been talking about?
I've literally never heard of it. No, I was Googling it now. I've never heard of it. What's it on?
Please watch it, mate. Please watch it.
What's it on?
Hang up now. Get out of this shit.
It'll be on Netflix or Prime or whatever.
It is. It's on YouTube. It's on YouTube.
I found it, and then I kind of burned it on a CD, and I said, Dave, watch this documentary. And he was like, what Hong Kong, King of Kong, what are you talking about? But
Dave, have you still got that Miami Connection DVD I gave you?
Yeah, the 80s one, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
I can't get that now. So I might have to have it back.
Dave, can I have my Mayfair magazine back?
Hold on, wait. What are you saying? The Mayfair Connection? What?
Miami Connection.
No, Miami Connection.
What's that?
The Mayfair Connection.
I love the fact that Dave went, yeah, I've got that film, and then when Kyle says I can have it back, he's like, what film are you talking about?
So the producer of this has done quite a lot of other documentaries, and I'll name them here. So Amy, I've not seen that, but apparently it's amazing. The Amy Winehouse one.
You haven't seen that?
No, Ronaldo.
Are you talking about Asif Kapadia?
No, he's called James Gay Reese.
Okay. So yeah, because Asif Kapadia did Amy, and he did the Maradona one.
Yeah, it
did
must have been a joint
well.
thing. Yeah, Senna, Maradona. Yeah, and he's done that. Andy, you probably watched that Formula One Drive to Survive on Netflix.
Regarding like the nature of documentaries now, well, I mean, not now. This has always been the case. Is that there's always a subjectivity behind it. Like, and I think that was the problem when Michael Moore started releasing documentaries. Everyone was like, well, this is just like one-sided. This is just like, you're kind of giving, you're kind of, it's like you're writing your own op-ed piece rather than actually sort of giving like a factualized sort of document. And, and I think, people were arguing, well, that's the whole point of having a documentary. And I think regarding this, you guys have rightly pointed out, I think Andy kind of pointed out right from the beginning that, there are certain formulaic elements in this film. And I think the most obvious one is the whole Tony Hawk, because at the end of the day, one thing. So yeah, I sent on our WhatsApp group. I sent you guys.
I read that, Shaf, and it's really interesting that because like Tony Hawk's like that didn't happen, that didn't happen, that didn't happen. That's been fucking fade.
Yeah, and just like when you guys were talking about Billy Mitchell, because Billy Mitchell did the same thing. He was like there was like a whole kind of controversy behind going, well, you've just basically made me out to be a cartoon villain where it's more than that, what else was I thinking about? There was a few years ago there was a documentary about James Avell, like the head of like Mowax Records, and he was like one half of Uncle. And the funny thing is that film, it's called I can't even remember what it's called now. It's called The Man from Uncle or something, like the history of Mowax. But it's really like centered on James Avell, like from beginning to end. But then but the thing is that after he was like out, he was part of the like publicity tour, but people like kind of asked him about his thoughts on the documentary, and he wasn't happy. He was like, no, you basically told like one sort of narrative to sort of make this a bit juicy. You're basically saying that, DJ Shadow, did all the work, and I just sort of pissed about and, tried to sort of, do all the talking and stuff. And I think, I think, it definitely with this film, that I don't even think Tony Hawk, there's nothing you see Tony Hawk do which makes him look like an arsehole. And the thing is that in it, all it's coming, as Andy said, this part regarding there's, they said, was it we all got our own stories and one is the truth.
It's three sides to every story, yours, mine, and the truth.
Yeah, and the truth. And that's the thing. And, even when
their side is coming from some really drug-hazed, fueled memories as well. So,
exactly. Yeah. So, but possibly it might be that it was edited or it was somehow egged on by the director to say, we've got to have a kind of like a antagonist here. We've got to have, because it would have been quite boring. And to be honest, if you want to sort of know my opinion of the film, I remember watching it just the same as you guys, about half an hour in, being really pissed off, going, am I just watching skater porn? Am I just like, what? Because all it was just these shots of these people going up and down half pipes. I was like, well, I mean, is this going to, fair enough for a skater, this would probably be amazing, but I'm not finding this compelling enough at all. And it's only when they, it's only when they got to the X Games part when they were kind of like, you see that they had to sort of beat Tony Hawk, and it sort of got a bit competitive, which was what a lot of sports dramas or sports documentaries are about. It's basically the whole competitive side, but it
made me realize just how fucking amazing The Last Dance was and stuff like that. Just in terms of footage, history, I keep shot, story.
Yeah. I think that's it. It's just the story. I mean, and they purposely do that. That was like one of the coolest things. I mean, when they kind of, every episode is sort of like character focused. They sort of pick out one member of the team, and then what they do is they kind of show like half a game. They show like half a game, and then they cut it in the middle of the game. It flashes back to like the background of that character. And then it goes.
Have you guys seen The Last Dance yet?
No, that was like lockdown viewing, wasn't it? Lockdown 1.
Oh man,
yeah.
Honestly, I need to watch it. Yeah,
that was time.
That's the Chicago Bulls. Yeah,
because Dave didn't, but Dave thought it was overrated.
Yeah, I did think that was overrated. Yeah, I watched it. Yeah. I watched it. I had quite a few beers, and I kind of watched them all back to back. But yeah, everyone was like jizzing in their pants, and when I watched it, I was a little disappointed, but only because of how much people jizz themselves. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what. We were talking a few episodes ago. We were talking about some of the best soundtracks. Last Dance has some of the best needle drops.
Yeah.
Like there's a Eric B and Rakim track that sort of drops in. There's a like really good that I'm Bad by LL Cool J. It's so that has like some of the best needle drops. But anyway, well, as I was saying, like it's really cool because what it does, it basically it goes halfway through a game, and then it, as I said, it sort of flashes back where you sort of learn about the character's background, and then it goes back to the game where that character has their big moment. It basically the stakes of that kind of moment, and it's so I think it's like really good filmmaking. And possibly it's manipulative as well. Possibly it kind of, they sort of juice it up to kind of make it more compelling, but it's still, and that's, I don't really mind like the artifice behind these documentaries, but at the end of the day, you want to keep someone sort of, as I said, if this documentary didn't have that artifice, then I would just be bored. I would just be sort of sitting there,
This is some impressively long sentence. Shafi's sentences are so long, man. Like your sentences.
Yeah, Shafi's a fucking nut. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that's because every other
Shafi's
word, which I have to fucking edit out every time. Sorry,
go fuck yourself then.
Oh, he's gone. Anyway.
Sorry, well, just quickly, I kind of believe the whole thing where they kind of they didn't let him compete.
Sentence is going too long.
It's in the hope
wrap up
that Tony Hawk
make
would do the 900.
I said you were a genius. I'm on your side, Jack.
Go on. Let's hear the short sentences you've got, Dave.
Okay. I can believe that the corporate America. If
too long.
A 900,
too long. That sentence is too long, Dave.
if someone does a 900 on a skateboard, everyone's going to view
is that 900 degrees?
That's a really good. That's a really good joke, Andy.
Is that 900 flips?
Andy, that's a really good joke. Where did you go out?
I've never seen so much jealousy in my life.
Jokepedia.com. Fucking
Tony Hawk is a bit of a douchey geek in my eyes, and I'm on the side of the bad boys. I don't know, man.
I just got that blaming other people for their like inabilities is just like it's addict behavior, man. And obviously they were addicts, weren't they? So
yeah,
don't fucking take anything they take as a pinch of salt.
I didn't particularly like them either. I wasn't particularly like rooting for them at any point.
Oh, you didn't root for the guy, the heroin addict that killed his girlfriend. You didn't find him likable.
No, funny enough.
That was what a weirdo. He was like, he's kind of like Paddington Bear. He's just lovable.
Nah, but you know, at the beginning when you're like, you could be like, these dudes are party animals. These guys are legends. Well, the whole way through, I was a bit like, these guys are douchebags.
Yeah, at the start, I liked them both.
Especially when they were kids yelling at the guys rollerblading. I came second in the Halloween Fort Regent competition when I dressed up as Count Dracula. So I've got an affinity for roller skaters. So they shouldn't have been slagging them off like that.
Yeah, because even like with Taz, I was with him right up to the point where he proper cracked and ended up in jail and stuff like that. At that point, I was still on his side, and then it was just carnage from there on in. I love him.
No, but just as I was saying about like we were talking about TT last year, was that the person who ends up winning TT is really boring, who's like really sort of dull.
Yes, Shafi, this is why you're here. You fucking genius.
But at the end of the day, that's what we were talking about, the best sports people. They're not really particularly the most... They're not particularly the most interesting people. They're not particularly, they're just very clean cut,
of course.
They've got like a focus. They don't. It's not like they're kind of artists that are kind of like they're just sort of they're just sort of like very narrow-minded in what they want, and that's it. And that's the same with Tony Hawk. He's just a boring guy that is really good at what he does.
Michael Schumacher, Michael Phelps. The only person I'd go against that grade is Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Yeah, but I feel that watching it, obviously from a massive layman point of view, it did look like Tony Hawk was just doing the same boring shit, and this other dude is trying to push it with a bit of flamboyance. In a sport like this, you can. But in the article that Shafi sent round, what they were saying was that when you enter the best trick competition like that, you shouldn't just try and do a trick that you can't fucking do. The point of it is you do tricks that you can do and you build up. And that's why the people that were getting the higher points were going through to these competitions. So it wasn't like they were excluded because they weren't American. It was just actually they went in with the mindset they were going to try and do these 720s and 900s. And on the day, during those types of competitions, couldn't pull it off. That's Tony Hawk's view anyway. I suppose there is something to that where you're like, if imagine watching that and it's just them in a desperate hope to one time pull off something. But I still think there's James Hunt and then there's Niki Lauda, and there are moments where it's fascinating when you've got both sides, and it would have been quite interesting if in a different parallel universe it had been them against corporate America and the clean cut.
They might have asked Tony Hawk to do this, but he was probably just like, no, thanks. Why would I tarnish my brand and my image? He's got
his own documentary though, isn't he? On HBO that just came out.
So
recently,
I've listened to that, and it's fascinating. If you try and listen to the episode, he talks about getting getting the first paycheck. Huh?
When you've watched it, it's a documentary. What do you mean listen to it?
His podcast. What are you talking about?
Oh no, he's got a HBO documentary about his.
Oh, sorry.
Right. Okay, sorry, Andy, go on.
No worries. There's a really interesting podcast out there of him talking about the first time he got into bed with the gaming industry and then received his first paycheck, and it was like $2 million, and he couldn't believe that. And then by the fourth game, he was getting 30 million.
Holy
Just
shit!
mental.
Yeah. Yeah, and at the end of the day, like there's I don't think there's anything wrong with like like, having a brand or sort of getting sponsorship. Because at the end of the day, skateboard, I don't know, what do you guys think? Would you call skateboarding an art or a sport?
I don't know. I can understand what they were talking about, saying the soul was sucked out of it, and then you get those insane ramps and stuff. I do see that corporate America sort of ripped the soul out of something that was a very
was
cool
that when like ESPN took
underground
over and they were all jumping into the rivers and stuff? And
and it's like
flares going off.
Because you don't need to be a multi-millionaire from it. Tony Hawk could have maybe had a few million in the bank and still kept it real, so to speak.
But I mean, just with any sport, you look for sponsors, don't you? And that's your bread and butter.
Yeah, but that's sponsorship. Sponsorship.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
You don't have to sell your soul for sponsorship. You're wearing trained.
That's my point. That's my point, though. Is and they didn't. I don't think they got a sponsorship deal. And
they had sponsorship. That was like one of the first things they were talking about. Yeah, sponsorship.
That guy is quite that small budget company.
Yeah,
isn't
Dominic.
That's their own. That was their. But was that was their company? Company. That was their own company.
No. It was just a guy they knew set it up because he let him go. Didn't he?
Yeah, because they were at the park and the guys drove by and just saw them. It's all like
and they were like there was those distributors as well. But
and they got the merchandise. And stuff. Yeah, okay, fair.
It's difficult, isn't
it? But also this could. At the end of the day, he ended up having a wife and child, and that was after apparently, allegedly, the father took all the money from the company that they set up. So the fact is that this whole sort of bitterness towards Tony Hawk is probably the fact that he's probably insecure that Tony Hawk got something that he wasn't able to provide for his wife and kids.
Yeah.
I think fair play to Tony Hawk. Tony Hawk's done the right thing. He stayed clean. He did well. He provided for his family, and he's fucking a millionaire of skateboarding.
I just don't. Exactly. That's what that was sort of. It made me, as I was watching it, I was thinking, I can't see what he's doing. And fair enough, the whole kind of like when he said after the competition that I should have won. I was like, okay, well that is a bit of a dickhead thing to do. But then in that article,
he didn't do it.
I guess, I guess Kyle, you maybe want to put a link to that article. So
that's mad. If that is just a blatant lie, then that is really mad because that is a really low thing to say.
It's interesting though, because when you read the article, Tony, he kind of says like, I didn't say that specifically, but then he sort of goes on to say he was making a point that he felt the judges had, made some errors and were inconsistent, which is there and thereabouts saying.
He says I've never said that to anyone in my life regarding.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah,
and it's at the end of the day, it's sort of like hearsay, isn't it? It's just like one person says one thing and another person says another. We don't, unless you were there, you don't know what was actually the truth. And it was years and years ago. So
it's no big deal, is it? It doesn't. Again, I don't think. I think the Tony Hawk part of this documentary is really quite small, and it's not really that relevant. But it's interesting the business side of it.
That was what hooked me. Because as I said, like that was what hooked me. The competitive side.
Yeah, they need the big name to get the viewers in as well, don't they?
Yeah.
For me, it's all about the downfall that hooked me. I found that just fucking unreal.
I like the way you said that though, because when I was watching this, obviously thinking about the podcast as well, I was thinking about mid-90s as well, and that whole just the party scenes. Kid loses his virginity, and then these guys skateboarding the parties. Like we've all partied to some extent during our life, and I do find just watching how other cultures and different groups of people party through their teens. Like
exactly,
it's just I don't know. You know what I mean? Those like mad. Those parties we went to where Bretons ended up naked in the sink and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Just crazy stuff goes on. It's interesting to see like wow how far some people take it. Like, and this group, obviously, Jesus, ending up murdering, suicide and stuff. It's fucking nuts.
Because when they showed when they were actually living in the skate park, like in this sort of warehouse and stuff, and they were like partying every night, and like all of them, it seemed like they were wild, like drugs and just having a wild mental time, and it was very rock and roll, and it does seem like maybe. Even all the American guys might have sort of seen Tony Hawk as the goody two shoes, as the corporate guy and the guy that gets in there with the business side of it, and was part of ripping a soul out of something very cool, very street, underground. But again, I don't know, and frankly, I don't care about Tony Hawk, whatever he did, but it does seem like Tony Hawk doesn't quite fit in the sense of every other character. I mean, the other guy tried to firebomb his house and stuff like that. Who's that nutter? Who is that nutter that just had turned up and found slime?
Well, see, it's interesting because you guys really need to watch that documentary, Dogtown and Z-Boys, because that was basically, as I told you a couple of episodes ago, that's a documentary about kind of like the origins of that skateboarding, when it was sort of first discovered in the 70s, where they were sort of going to abandoned swimming pools, and that's how they sort of started it. And Tony Hawk is part of that original crew. I think he's like part of that. So at the end of the day, I don't think I think regarding the brothers in this film. Yeah, but I think they're in a younger generation, so that's probably why. I think so. Yeah, I might be wrong in my chronology. Yeah, so that's the thing. So Tony Hawk, he wasn't part of that. He could have. The reason why he wasn't kind of hanging out at those parties was because that wasn't his.
The same reason we don't go to Mimosa anymore.
Yeah, it's a generation above them. So it's sort of like.
Yeah. Maybe it was like a hippie kind of thing in the 70s and stuff like that, and it became
you nailed it right there. It was sort of like a hippie generation. It was because all of those, because it was in sync with just like we were talking about mid-90s. It was in sync with surfing as well. So all these people were ex-surfers, and then they would and also they would be they'll be skating as well, and they wear kind of like long hair and stuff like that, where now basically our view of skateboarders is sort of like short cropped hair with like piercings and stuff like that, but
it still seems very 90s, and you think, shit, we're missing out the whole 80s decade there. But yeah, no, honestly, I'm sure. I mean what I'm talking about is I really am, I don't know, it's weird, like, because I could get completely slagged off for talking about something I know nothing about, but fuck it, I've decided to do it. And I just feel,
every episode.
Yeah. Well, no, you usually say I don't. I'm usually just like, no, I don't know why, I just can't describe it. So I thought I'd try this time. But
it's nice to actually rate this episode, Dave, to be honest.
Well, I don't know. The lights are off, so I don't.
No, stop recording in the dark. It affects.
Well, it wasn't. It was like I've got like the curtains open and stuff, and the sun's gone
I'm sure
away.
you do.
Beef curtains.
I don't know. I just feel like I'd have rather made a couple of million and been a rock and roll star of skateboarding rather than being the corporate goody two shoes.
Did they get to a couple of million? Did they get million?
Nah.
Did they become millionaire?
Sure. Yeah, like, I mean, how much does the second richest skateboarder earn? It's interesting, isn't it? Like, because skateboarding is incredibly popular. It's everywhere, isn't it? To some extent, everyone's seen a skateboarder. So
when I went to London a few months ago, it was everywhere.
Yeah.
I drove past 2 skateboarders today.
Yeah.
Brand new skate park being built in Jersey, or maybe has been built. But
yeah. Maybe it isn't about spectators then with skating, and maybe like the same with surfing as well. It's not about
that's street skateboarding though, isn't it? There's the half pipe like as Dave. Same with Dave. Like, I'm outside of my warehouse here, but there's the competitive half pipe vert kind of skating, but then there's the street skating, which funnily enough is kind of like where a lot of filmmaking happens. Like a lot somehow.
Oh yeah.
You always sort of see kids with a camera when they're sort of skating, like on the streets and stuff. I mean, it's tragic how the film ends, and it sort of focuses less on skateboarding in the sort of, you think, that's the thing, you think it's going to get like a competitive sports drama, but then it goes in a sort of like a downward spiral, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's and the thing is that I don't know. It's funny. Like Taz is the more.
Can we call him Yaz now, please? It's funny just to call him Yaz.
Well, I was just about to call him Yaz, and then I realized. So Taz is Taz at the beginning. They sort of make him out to be the rougher one, I guess.
Yeah.
But so that's the thing. I thought that it would be Taz that would go down that downward spiral because the other one was quite quiet. But it's mad that it kind of
one big mistake and game over. I mean, imagine that. Like, no, for such a shit reason, you can't compete because you're not even allowed into the country to compete in because of your criminal record. You'd just be like, oh fuck, man, what the fuck have I done?
Yeah.
Oh.
So this is probably a good ending. The show the film ends with like everything's all bright and dandy now, and things are on the up. Let's see where Yaz is going to go from now on. So I went on his Wikipedia. His Wikipedia literally ends with this documentary, which was 8 years ago. So what has he been doing for the last 8 years? Not what the documentary said he would be doing and getting back into skating and stuff. He just fucking disappeared.
Yeah, people like that aren't. I don't think you can't turn their lives around. And like they say, it almost catches up with you. You just end up back where you may be destined. And like Kerry Katona, she just can't be a big famous celebrity. She just ends up fucked up sometimes. And maybe it's just weird. Like he may, there was I didn't feel like there was any happy ending at the end of that film. I thought, here's another chapter. And it's probably going to be a bad chapter again.
It's so fucked up, isn't it? Like the nature versus nurture thing is like if you just fuck from the start, you've got no hope really, have you?
Yeah, it's mad. It's fucking just fuck, man. Yeah, because they were saying like being like almost back in the life they would have had.
But if you look at like boxing, like a lot of those kind of fighters kind of start from rough backgrounds, but they end up like going to like a boxing club and like turning their sort of lives around really and like discipline and stuff.
But then you still got like Floyd Mayweather, a billionaire, like he still beats up his ex-wives and shit and gets done for shot, doesn't he?
Yeah, no, like obviously massively generally speaking.
Okay, let's go to one word reviews.
It's the one word review. The one word review. The one word review from us to you.
Except for Dave, who says, "Oh, so beautiful. It's just beautiful."
Andy, what's your one word review?
Great.
Grey.
Yeah, great.
Kyle, what's your one word review?
900 out of 1,000.
And Dave, what's your one word?
Tragic.
Nice.
What's your one word review, Shafi?
My one word review is Cowabunga.
Oh God! Oh God! Chill out, Donatello. It's film documentaries off the agenda going forward.
No, I was just being a dick. I was just being a dick. I was trying to get a reaction.
Well, you got one.
Honestly, Newlands, I think you should always choose a film documentary.
Oh, don't.
Oh, chill out.
Yeah, man.
I will carry on with them, but I'll go back to fiction for a while.
See, I'm going to watch Free Solo after this, and I'm going to watch the Tony Hawk one, and I'm also going to watch the Banksy one as well. What's the Banksy one called?
The Banksy one's really good.
Yeah, same producer as this film. Yeah, same producer.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, a long time ago, but yeah.
I saw it in the cinema, in the Prince Charles cinema. But yeah. Okay, so yes, it is that time of the episode where we hand the baton over, and for the next episode, it is Dave's choice. So Dave,
this better fucking be Scott Adkins,
I can't
mate.
wait for this.
Honestly.
I can't wait for Andy's reaction to this.
Ninja 3.
Yeah.
A white guy called Casey.
Dave, I can't wait for the film that you are next going to choose. That's going to piss Andy off.
Just fucking need a break
Andy.
from this.
So Dave, what is your choice?
What is my choice?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the film now.
Well, I'm not sure. I'll get back to you. Now, what bullshit is this going to be? Go on then.
Okay, I've chosen The Lodger,
Oh, God.
A Tale of the London Fog.
The Lodger, A Tale of the London Fog.
Yeah. Real early Alfred Hitchcock. Like 1920 something.
Oh my God.
Oh, I knew he was going to hate it.
No, I think
Honestly, it's going to be amazing.
1927.
Yeah, man. Almost 100 years old. But it's
and that's directed. Interesting. All right.
Yeah, so it's like when he was really young. Nah.
Wow.
Bants.
I knew you were joking. I knew you were joking.
Ninja
I
One.
thought, how long is he going to kind of keep this up? Because I knew you were joking. But
I literally just looked it up and was going to text you guys saying, guys, I don't want to do this anymore.
But viewers, don't get put off by that film. I have chosen a film that Newlands will love, Kyle will love,
Fast and Furious
Shafi will
9!
love.
Yes!
It's called Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yeah.
What? Tucker
and Dale versus Evil.
It is so good.
It's with Thingy, isn't it? What's that guy's name? The guy who's in Serenity and he was in iRobot and Star Wars. What's his name?
Alan Tudyk.
Alan Tudyk, that's it. Yeah.
I've not seen it. I know of it, but I've not seen it. Yeah.
Is he a Jersey man? It is unbelievably good.
Okay, thanks for that choice, Dave. We're looking forward to watching it and discussing it. So, Kyle, take us home.
Please get in touch with us. Send any comments, questions, praise, hate mail, or one-word reviews to the Popcorn Postbag at whodroppedthepopcorn@gmail.com, or follow, harass us on Twitter at whopopcorn, or on Instagram and TikTok at whodroppedthepopcorn. You can also leave a review on your podcast app, and please remember to like and subscribe. You've been listening to Who Dropped the Popcorn. We really appreciate it. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.